I love that little bit of marketing because really I'm not the smartest guy with a bow tie. I'm just the slow man of Chattanooga who wears a bow tie and frayed jackets and scuffed shoes. And I ask the dumb questions. I'm the slow man. And I just can't figure things out. And so I'm just asking these annoying questions that sometimes cause a little bit of offense. Sometimes people are a little bit upset and they think somehow that we're a saucy radio station. I heard that once, that, well, you're a saucy. And maybe. But this is David Tulis. I'm glad you're giving me just a couple minutes of your time here. We are arguing that you should love your neighbor and buy local. You should have, I suggest, a loco-centric perspective. You should care more about what happens on Main Street than what happens on Wall Street. Though I would suggest you make moves now to get out of Wall Street. It is at a peak. It is look at all your assets. They're all trend lining up for years now, and it's all good and sound, right? And remember, as the Rothschilds said, you buy when there's smoke on the horizon and you hear the boom of cannon, and you sell when the parade is going down the street, the confetti is flying, and the grand speeches are being made, and all is well. Everyone is happy, and the crowds are cheering. That's when you sell, not when you buy. This is David Tulis, and I'm arguing that you should invest locally and divest nationally. And we think that's possibly true right now because we are aware that near is better than far, small than big, and simple than complex. And in the footnotes also, at 5-point type, personal is better than corporate, and physical is better than abstract. We are all new Nooga Radio 92.7, all new Nooga Radio, Chattanooga's new favorite home for news and talk. Now, I'm concerned about veterans. Veterans are men and women who come back from military engagement, often overseas, often amid great distress, and some have in their breast what's called PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and they have a hard time making ends meet. They have a hard time making their ideas meet, and often they've burned bridges in family. They've ruined relationships. They take promising developments in their lives, and in a moment of temper or a moment of carelessness, ruin that chance. And sometimes, on account of these things, they're just homeless. And sometimes they are saddled, if you will, by their experiences in the service, especially bad when there has been death and mayhem and danger, and sometimes the temptation to do evil things when you're in a foreign country and you have your weapon and you have dangers and threats. We know of many instances where soldiers have done morally wrong and reprehensible things, and so they come back with all kinds of baggage. And here in Chattanooga, we have homeless veterans. We still have them, even though prior to the election, Mayor Burke touted a letter from an American government commission that said that homelessness is effectively ended in Chattanooga thanks to his efforts. And these are very commendable efforts on Mayor Andy Burke's part. But there are those who still come into town. There are those whose circumstances change. And to help them in the Chattanooga area is a charity, a branch of a charity, a national charity called VOA Mid-States. It's Volunteers of America. And Chattanooga is covered in this labor funded by a Department of Labor grant. Covers 16 counties. We're in an area of 16 counties. Rodney Warren, you are overseeing this organization here. You're a case manager. You and your wife Rebecca have 3 children. You are an Army and Navy veteran, 47 years old. Tell us about what you do and who these people are that we're referring to as homeless and troubled and distressed veterans in the Chattanooga area.
Well, we receive referrals from a lot of different organizations. Veteran Center could be community kitchens, which is actually where we connected. So we address some of their needs, primarily jobs. If they're in the homelessness category, that's where we can move forward. We can enroll them, benefit them getting back and forth to work, provide them other referral services for some of the issues that they have. So we can address a lot of different things. Primarily, it's due to homelessness and getting back into work.
Say more. How long have you been at this job, and how do you reach out to these people? Do they find you, or do you have to find them?
It's a combination. It's community partners. Typically, it could be a benefit going on. It could be community organized in one location. Veterans are invited to, again, it could go down to veterans organizations that are already existing here that we've made contact with and built a relationship.
So what does your job involve? Calling these folks up every week and saying, do you have new referrals, or does the phone ring in your office and you?
It's a combination of both. It's a combination of both. And a lot of times we're fed more than we have to reach out. So that's the benefit of building a good relationship with them.
Now, tell my listener a little bit about what the work is with a particular individual. Give an example, maybe a real person or a composite veteran. What is his situation? What is the problem? What are his funds? Where is he living? Where is he spending the night? And when you meet him, what happens?
For the most part, funds are non-existent. A lot of times we do get veterans that have some benefits coming in, but not enough to pay for housing, not enough to pay for their food. They have to make a choice. Where am I going to go? Where am I going to be dry? Where am I going to be fed? Where am I going to be safe? And so we address those things. And we are on a 211 list for Chattanooga, as well as.
What is a 211 list?
211 is emergency services. Could be food, could be shelter, could be any number of things, really. And it'll refer them to someplace to be dry.
Well, how is a veteran getting, Rodney Warren, how is a veteran getting benefits if he doesn't have a place to live? How do you do that? How do you access your card or your check? How does that work?
As far as their
right, if they have some means of income, let's say TRICARE, a TRICARE payment for a wound or something.
Yes, it could just be their previous accounts, and they're still being able to access that.
Go ahead.
So I really don't know how to answer that necessarily because it's not really what we
tell about a typical veteran. Give me a real person. Tell me about his situation, or give a composite, Rodney Warren, of Volunteers of America.
Real people come in with distresses. They're not really sure what to address first. Like the analogy of a buffet dinner, a plate that you filled up way too much or got filled up way too much. We take a few things away from them, focus on what they can do immediately, and then those things that we kind of took away or took off their plates, we work on through our network.
Well, that's really kind of vague. Can you be specific? All right, let's Robert Gibson answer my question. Give a specific individual who comes to your attention at Volunteers of America. What is his situation? Where is he living? How much money does he have? What kind of clothes does he have? Where does he eat? Where did he eat the meal yesterday? Give some detail. Make the people you deal with real people for my listener. We're trying to get a picture of whom you're helping at VOA.
It could be somebody literally staying. Excuse me. Somebody literally staying at the shelter or in their car. Most of these veterans, they're real people. They're out there trying to survive, and things could have gone south, but they still got a checking account, or they've got a green dot credit card or a debit card, prepaid debit card or something like that their benefits go into. But those benefits aren't enough to actually cover everything that they need. Some of these guys, I got one in particular in mind. I'm not going to name names because of HIPAA violations, obviously. But living in his car, his benefits barely paid for his child support. He had to choose between paying for rent or paying for child support. He paid his child support, lived in his car, and had a part-time job that literally didn't cover anything. So we worked with him, got him over to the Career Center. We worked directly with the DBOFs and folks over at the Career Center. And we help these folks to be able to get past those barriers to getting employment or better employment so that they can actually take care of themselves and be able to get themselves back up on their feet. Sometimes that could be as little as, buying them some clothes, getting them some transportation funds or a bus pass, and helping them find a better job. Other times it could be getting them into a recovery program so they can actually take care of what got them there in the first place.
This is David Tulis, and we're talking with Robert Gibson, VOA, and Rodney Warren. Caller, what's on your mind? David Tulis here.
Yeah, guys, thank you for your good work. I mean, I know you do good work, and those who are unaware of being unaware. I mean, it's hard enough for a person with a home and a car to get a job because now everything's done on the computer, open a bank account. I mean, I can't imagine the struggles of being homeless and not having an address and trying to get anywhere. I mean, it's even this matter of just accessing a computer.
Exactly.
And I know you guys do that. And somebody walking in saying, where do I go from here? And you help them with assistance and accessing the computer, maybe putting together a resume and helping them knowing where their next meal is coming from, or if there's a drug treatment program they need to be in. And God forbid they get arrested for vagrancy or something, and now they have a record. I mean, it's hard enough for people that are working, that are one paycheck away from disaster, But being on the streets with no assistance is atrocious. So I want to thank you guys for helping. Bye.
You're welcome, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
What is your success rate, Robert Gibson, and how do you measure success of the work that you do? You're funded by a Department of Labor grant. First, how much is the grant, and how do you measure success?
Well, when we first started out, the grant was right at $199,000 to basically go out and assist. Well, I believe just over 80 was the goal, veterans per year. What we've actually done with that, since July of last year, we are currently at 152 veterans assisted with an 89% success rate. And what we consider success is when these veterans actually get employment, get on their feet. We work with the Chattanooga Housing Association, Housing Authority. We work with them. So we're actually trying to make sure that they are housed and that they can maintain that housing by getting a gainful employment and getting a paycheck.
Also, we want to talk with Dan Helton, who is a program manager for VOA. Again, VOA is Volunteers of America. It's a group that rides shotgun on Department of Labor money to help veterans obtain services. Now, Dan, you are the Knoxville area manager. You were 4 years in the military, and you're also the program manager for the nonprofit group VOA Mid-States. Now, tell us a bit more about a veteran or two. Maybe you could present before my listener a real person, what his problems are, and what exactly your organization did to get him going.
Absolutely. First of all, David, I want to thank you for this opportunity and for you having us here. We at Volunteers of America, definitely, we say this all the time, we're not in it for the money, we're in it for the people. We are definitely a people business. So in discussing the people, what does a typical client look like to me? I have seen everything from a gentleman that came across the state line from Georgia in nothing but a tattered pair of worn out Levi's shorts that he said, to be honest with you, wasn't even his. A white t-shirt and a pair of flip-flops. That was all he had to his name. I've known this individual now about 3.5 to 4 years. He now no longer lives in this state. He is married. He has a home. He has a job. He has a career. I have seen guys come through that have master's degrees just because of circumstances that they literally just ended up in a situation where, of no fault of their own, just everything around them, circumstances, caused them to need some temporary assistance. They had no felonies. They had no background with any criminal justice interactions. They were not strung out on any medications. They were not strung out on anything that the VA had given them. They were not substance abuse. There was very little PTSD present in a few of them. And to be honest with you, they had no idea what the resources were, and they just needed an opportunity to hit what I call the reset button. And as we were mentioning there a little bit ago about PTSD, we are seeing more and more and more. This is what really people need to know. People within the community, as far as employers, you're seeing a lot of your OIF and your OEF, which is your Operation Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom returnees. They are coming out at like 25, 26 years old. We are literally already seeing these gentlemen and ladies, I will say, in the shelters. Now, many of you are probably saying, no way, nobody 20-something years old ends up in the shelter. It's a HIPAA violation for me to start dropping names, but I could get in double digits, literally, off of our caseload from the past 2 years. And these are in their 20s.
And why can't they function in society like my listener? What's their problem?
Because your listener probably has not been traumatized to the point that these people have.
What kind of trauma have they suffered?
These people have suffered trauma that they have been trained to shut up and not talk about. We are trained to decompress in a way that civilians do not. We are told to take our emotions and bottle them up and use them for fuel to go fight the enemy. We don't break. We don't get weak. We don't come and get help because we go fix things.
Well, what kind of things happen in the field, Dan, to these soldiers?
You witness your buddy die. You witness horrific scenes. I mean, all it takes is somebody seeing someone die, literally, in their face. And the blood there, you're going to remember the sights, the smells, just little things can trigger you. I mean, PTSD is such a broad diagnosis, but there are so many different ways that it can affect people. But what it does is it inadvertently affects them in their work environment. It causes them to have triggers of noises. It causes them to have triggers from scents. It causes them to have triggers.
You mean to have a sudden, unexpected, violent reaction?
Yeah,
to some
an anxiety attack
event or sound. This is David Tulis. We do thank you for tuning in. We are live on Nooga Radio. And caller, what is on your mind?
David, I just wanted to say I didn't realize the funding was so low. The United States government should be embarrassed by giving you guys $200. That's it?
Yes.
They'll spend $20 million on one missile, and they expect people to risk their lives. I mean, come on. Can you imagine shooting by accident some woman or some kid over there and how you'd be traumatized about that? There needs to be, if you're going to put men at war and women at war at risk, there needs to be a full program when they get to this country that they're housed and there's a job for them or at least some job training. And we don't just drop them off and say, hey, thanks for killing lots of people. You're on your own. That's ridiculous. $500 billion military defense, and they give you a lousy $200,000. You know, if you're going to talk to your congressman about anything, you guys need to be budgeted as part of the Defense Department. There needs to be an army of you guys ensuring that the people we send over to supposedly protect our freedoms don't end up on the street in this republic. That is an outrage.
Okay, well, the caller is proposing a welfare program for veterans. Dan, what else does my listener need to hear about your Volunteers of America efforts in the 16-county area that includes Chattanooga and goes all the way up to Knoxville? What do we need to hear about your work? What are some problems that you're not able to solve?
I'm so glad you asked that question because I wanted to get the chance to be able to share just exactly what I'm most proud of these men that I serve alongside of as my brothers, Robert and Rodney, as along with all my colleagues in Volunteers of America. But as far as serving our veteran population, the biggest thing that I'm the most proud of is the fact that when we get a hold of these people, we're not concentrating on where their next job needs to be. That is not the first question. If you ask either one of these gentlemen, what is the first primary duty to our brothers and sisters when you meet them and you do an assessment? It is, I want you to know how to come along inside them, and to empower them, encourage them, and support them. And it doesn't always mean employment.
One thing we've read about in recent months, Dan Helton and Rodney Warren, is the overuse of medication by the military and the VA. How do you see that in the individual men and women you deal with, or is that problem not clear from their lives and problems?
Right. The trend is changing. We have seen a definite change in the trend. It is going down to a point.
It is. It's not a dominating factor, but it's common enough.
What kind of medications are they addicted to when you meet them?
Oxycodone, hydrocodone, benzos.
These are the opioids that we're reading a lot about.
The benzodiazepines, which are your help with mental health. And what a lot of times you've seen them do, you've seen the people with the 1,000-yard stare. Those are people that are medicated to the point that they won't feel or react.
What about encounters with police among those men and women you help at VOA, Rodney Warren?
Some could be, well, a lot of chemical dependence issues, operating vehicles, and those are some of the things that we try to correct.
In addition to that, we've started getting on board with some of the vet courts and hopefully catching these guys.
Vet courts? What is that?
Vet court system is basically within inside your judiciary system. They're trying to, within the criminal justice system, identify all those that are veterans and that have served, so that while they are in, they can go ahead and make contact with people like ourselves, so that we can potentially get these people on a track to stop perpetuating the insanity.
It's isolated from the civilian population.
And why do these defendants, being former military people, need to be segregated from other defendants in the judicial industrial complex?
Root causes, their experiences, what life brings them to.
Well, many former military people end up as cops, and they're young and aggressive, and that's why we have 1,200 killings per year by police officers, many of them with military experience or wannabe military experience. And that's my question. On the other side, you have these potential defendants and subjects and suspects who are former military people, may be addicted. And that's what I was asking about. What kind of encounters have you heard about between people you've helped at VOA, Mid-State, and area authorities?
So the big thing is we get them out of the criminal justice system and get them over into treatments that are through the VA. And they are intended to address the parents and move them, put in place goals, and move forward.
Well, I want to thank everybody from Volunteers of America for joining us. Ronnie, I want to thank you.
Thank you, David.
And Robert, Dan Helton, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, David.
And Robert Gibson, who's a case manager in Athens. He's married, 39 years old, was 7.5 years in the military. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Also,
David Tulis here, thanks for joining us. We are Nooga Radio 92.7. And now, some important messages. Thank you.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio.